Hello and welcome here at Professor Herman Manyora's YouTube channel. My name is Simon Irungu, joined by the one and only Mr. Herman Manyora. How are you doing, sir?
Wonderful.
Have you been?
Good.
Okay, so we also joined the country in mourning the passing on of the former president, Mr. Kibaki. He has left a legacy, most people are saying. You have witnessed it from 2002 when he took office to when he left office. How would you describe the former president to the younger generation?
Once again, my condolences to the family and the people of Kenya. Kibaki has left a legacy. Many Kenyans remember Kibaki as a person who brought economic changes that made life a little more comfortable and livable in this country. There are a number of things for which he is remembered. Most of them, they are good. And for that reason, his name will be remembered for many years to come.
Okay, and for that I've decided that this episode we are going to be dedicating it to be talking about the achievement of the former president, Mr. Mwai Kibaki. From a member of parliament of Othaya to the third president of Kenya, let's talk about his economic impact in Kenya. How would you describe his economic achievement?
You know, Kibaki was finance minister. At the time, a lot of things were happening in the world, beginning with the Arab War, and that led to the oil crisis and inflation, global inflation. And he managed the economy from the treasury fairly well. When he took over the country as the president in the year 2002, having been sworn in on the 30th of December of that year, he immediately implemented certain policies. One, free primary education that saw enrollment of children move up by millions, about 3 million extra children. It meant also, if you are to interrogate that, the many levies the parents were paying, the money that people had been paying to have their children in primary school. This must have been directed elsewhere to improve the lives of people, to invest, and therefore grow the economy. And indirectly also, it meant that we had people with disposable income, which would have gone to fees. And this kind of helped grow the economy. Kibaki also came up with CDF immediately after he took over. Constituency-based fund, CDF, in which certain amounts of money were allocated to each constituency. Again, this money was able to do a number of things like putting up classrooms and things like those. Again, this saved parents from going to their pocket. It would also suggest now the parents would use this disposable income that they would have used to do things in schools, to do other economic activities, to improve their lives, to eat better food and be healthier, and therefore be able to participate better in the economy. Kibaki also took over at the time of liberalization, global liberalization, and there was a lot of liberalization in many of the things that were taking place in the country, in the world, including even liberalizing the foreign currency. You know, before that, you could be arrested if you landed with currency. And somebody, a very tough guy from Nyeri, I've forgotten his name, Waruru Kanja, served jail time because if you alighted from the airport with British pounds or dollars, American dollars, you had to declare. If you didn't declare and worked with that in Nairobi, you could be arrested and charged. Waruru Kanja was charged.
Just having a foreign currency?
Yes, you just play with dollars now. You could go to jail, and people went to jail. Waruru Kanja.
I think I have $1 in my wallet.
Yes.
Does that mean I will be in jail currently?
How did you get it? Which bank gave you? You came from Australia and passed UK and you have sterling pounds. What did you declare? No, jail. So those are the things but some of these things were happening globally, but then we created. So this is a time when monies were now flowing. Banks were giving people credit. You go to a hotel and outside young men and women are seated asking, please open an account. Open now and in the afternoon you can take 500,000. What? No collateral? No? Not, yes, how?
Just
those
like
things
that.
were global. But there are also things that were local. Kibaki, for example, during his time, he pushed for self-reliance in terms of let's try and finance what we can from our own revenue. And the most noticeable thing is that collection of taxes more than doubled, not even doubling, went up by 3-4 times. We used to collect just about 200 billion, and we moved up 700 and so on and so forth. And you know, that meant that KRA that had been started earlier by under Mudavadi, I think, was now able to collect a lot more taxes than anybody could have imagined. And therefore we were able to finance our development expenditure without having to borrow the way we are doing today. Of course, there was borrowing, of course, but not the way we are doing. So there's so much you can remember Kibaki for.
Okay, the former president pushed the economic growth rate from 0.6, that is in 2002, to 7% in 2007. How would you compare it to the current sitting government on how they are pushing the growth?
You know, Simon, one thing is that Moi's government had been vilified so much, and this had affected the economy. It was majorly because of human rights and democracy. And because Moi was seen to be a dictator and trampling on people's rights and so on and so forth, he had to pay for it. Because then partners and donors, IMF, World Bank, were not too happy with us, and we became almost a pariah state. So at the time Kibaki is taking over, we were at our lowest. So he's able to gain the goodwill of partners and other countries and donors and supporters, World Bank. Because of that, then we were able to move. And there was a lot of goodwill when Kibaki took over. That goodwill is enough for a country to take off. There was a lot of goodwill. In fact, by the year 2013, early 2003, Kenyans were rated the most optimistic people in the world. There was a lot of goodwill. And there Kibaki did not disappoint. He capitalized on that goodwill. Kenyans were willing to work hard, and the economy grew, of course, until 2007 happened. Again, we went down.
Okay.
And then you mean, well, you see, this country has been trying, the current government has been trying. I am meant to believe from Treasury that despite COVID, they have very positive economic growth, extremely positive. So again, they have also tried.
Right. So he also oversaw the 2030 Kenyan vision that we had. Are we working, the current government, is it working towards making this dream come true for the former president?
It is sad and almost tragic that many of the things we have had, plans and visions, you can call it anything, none of them really has worked, at least not in the manner it was envisioned. When I was growing up, there was water for all by the year 1980. And so many things came up.
What did that water for all mean?
That by 1980, every Kenyan will have tapped water in his home. 1980, my friend.
What percentage did they achieve by then?
Nothing. They achieved nothing. We ever had Vision 2030. I call it Vision 3020 in a book I've written, Why Things Don't Work in Kenya. Why things won't work in Kenya.
Is the book out there? Can people reach the book?
It's outside. Yeah. Okay. Why things won't work in Kenya. Vision 3020. Because we were talking as if 2030 was very fast. Imefika. How many years? 8 years. What have we achieved? Now, millennium, there were then millennium goals, nothing. There's nothing we either generated internally or from outside, like the millennium goals, strategic goals, or what. None of them really works. Now we have vision. Now we have what? The Big Four agenda. I think we are far from realizing any of these things. None of us, not Kibaki, not Uhuru, not Moi, not Kenyatta, has been able to. Even sessional paper number 10 that was supposed to be really blueprint for the economic growth of this country. None of them has worked.
Okay, this vision was to push Kenya to a middle-income country by then, 2030. And when do we as Kenyan get to that?
They say we are there. We have been, if somebody just says you are there and rates you and says, okay, from today you are this, that can be said. And the figures from Treasury and Kenya Bureau of Statistics, all these kind of people, they always talk of 2 million jobs and you don't see them. A middle-income country, you don't need to be told. You don't need to look at statistics. You don't need to go to Kenya Bureau of Statistics. You don't need to go to central bank figures. No. You don't look at economic survey. That is a joke. Those ones can say, you see it. You see it, you feel it. You feel it.
Okay.
If the country is doing well, you can feel it and you can see it. Everybody can see it. You go in the village, the desperation that is there, the poverty is there, the misery is there. That can't be a middle-income country. That is a poor third world country. Poor, dirty and rotten.
Okay, now, you know, as a president, you are compared to whom you are taking over from, and you're also compared to who is going to take over you.
Yeah.
From being compared to the former president, that is Moi, Kibaki is said to has achieved a lot. Now, how do you compare him to the current sitting president?
You know, this comparing people is always very tricky. I have said, comparing Moi, Kenyatta to Kibaki, Uhuru, Raila, if he comes, or Ruto, can be a very tricky and difficult thing. What are you comparing?
Achievements, maybe?
You know, it's very difficult to compare. Basically, I have said this. Basically, anybody who takes over from another one cannot reverse the gear. If I leave the car, if you are going to Mombasa, say, wewe mimi ni mzee nitatoa hapa nifikishe wapi? Somewhere Makutano, wewe ni kijana, you take over. You can't reverse it back to Nairobi. And then you go to San Hamud, you give it to Jadel. He can't reverse it. So there's no way Moi would have reversed the car Kenyatta gave you. None of these people have reversed. Uhuru has not reversed. Kibaki did. So to that extent, each of them drives the country forward in one way or the other. And you can point at things. When Moi took over, the kind of things that Moi did in this country, I'm sure even now nobody has done them. He transformed the road network, for example. Ask people from Meru how they used to go to Meru. Circular. They were tarmacs road. They were never there in this country. They were transformed. Airports. There were many things that happened. Schools, the most notable. I was speaking on, I think, Look Up TV. And I was saying, you see, Moi, for example, with a singleness of purpose, sought to develop girl education. Nobody has faced the issue of girl education more than Moi. He built many schools, transformed all girls' secondary school, day schools, into boarding, beginning with Pangani, Fagaini Hapa, Pangani girls. This is good school. It was a day school. And Moi said, no, we can't have. If our children, if our girls have to go. So he built up the hospitals that Moi put up. Nobody has added one. Apart from Mama Lucy and a few other things that now NMS and Uhuru are doing. There isn't very little. You go to Kakamega, Paranya is trying. But all the hospitals, from the colonial hospital, the hospitals we have, they were put up by Moi. So he did so much. But as usual with leaders, when you overstay in power, you get now into excesses. If Moi had left after 10 years, nobody would have broken his record. So then Kibaki takes after Moi. He finds the economy so bad, it's zero. Then he took it up again. He found the roads had become so bad, the roads which Moi had done. The cowboy contractors had taken over, eating money without making the roads and doing very short jobs and overcosting them. Kibaki came and he turned east because the West had refused to give us money because of our excesses. He went to China and got money. He did thick highway. You see, he was moving the country forward. Uhuru took over. And he did a number of things that you can't compare with Kibaki. If you look at the roads, in terms of kilometers, he has done several times more than Kibaki did. And I believe the next president will just do the same. He will do much more. But according to me, they are not doing what Manyora will do, which is transformation, revolutionary changes. None of them can bring a revolutionary change. So that you transform this country from a poor, dirty third world country to a country of choice where everybody would want to live.
I heard you saying that you're going to be Raila's running mate in a video you did with
Tutakosana because he can't agree for me. He won't allow me to do the things. Somebody wanted me to be his running mate as governor. People told him you can't work with Manyora. I even told him you can't. Me. So I can't deputize Raila because I'm too radical for him.
Well, I think that's where we wrap up the conversation for today. Our deepest condolences to the family and friends of the late Mzee Mwai Kibaki. Till we do have this conversation again, enjoy the rest of your day.